two, one.
All right. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome to the KA Radio Show. I have a very interesting guest today, DeAndre Anderson, a young man I met back in the day. We met, well, let me put it on you real quick. What's up, man? Good to see you.
What's up, dude? Your intro music for your podcast is pretty freaking dope.
You like that? Thanks, man.
I was jamming. I love it. But I'm glad to be here.
Well, so I met you about 3 or 4 years ago during Army recruitment. So we both were joining the National Guard, and then the process you have to do for that. And so the recruiting process is different than the regular Army because you normally have to normally when you join regular Army, you sign the contract and then you just go to basic training. But in the National Guard, they have recruit sustainment where you go train once a month even though you haven't gone to basic training yet, and you just do little things to get ready for basic training. And you have people, all types of people from there. And so I met you there. What is your MOS again?
56 Mike, so a religious affairs specialist.
Very cool. Yeah, and so you were that. I remember you saying that, and I was like, wow, that's a good idea, because I signed up to be an infantryman, regretting that one a little bit, as far as luxury goes. But I met you then, and then we became Facebook friends, and then I've just been seeing you posting and keeping an eye on you because you're making moves, man. You are making some big time moves. Congrats.
Thank you. I'm trying to just stay on the grind. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Well, so there's a couple things I want to talk to you about. One, it would be just you growing up. Two, what life is like in college for you. Three, what it's like being in the military while in college. And then four, this campaign that you're on. You're running for Chattanooga City Council, is that correct?
Yes, for District 8.
Wow, District 8, Chattanooga City Council. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But tell me, so are you born and raised in Chattanooga?
Yes, I am born and raised here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
And do you go to UTC or do you go to another one?
I go to UTC. I go to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. There you go.
Yes, sir. Go Mocs. Yeah, and what year are you there?
I am a senior. Thank God. I am so ready to be done.
Ready to get out, man. Well, you study theater there, and you were in multiple plays last semester. Is that what I read?
Yes, I did 2 plays. So we did 2 shows per semester typically. So I was fortunate enough to be able to do both shows.
What were the 2 shows?
The first show was actually a show that I got to do when I was in high school. It's called The Bullet Soprano. It's like an abstract show, absurd, very weird, and just it's different. And we decided to do it because we needed a small cast. And it kind of reflects COVID. It's all about just every day feeling the same, and it was great. So that was the first one. And then the second one, we did a virtual showing of Antigone. So that's one of a really popular classical play, and I'm really thankful I got a chance to do it because I don't really do a lot of classical work, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a huge play guy, but I have become more interested in it the past few years. I did go see, since I was a student while I was at UTC, I went to that theater on all the plays that they did, and I mean, I just found it very it was a very good performance. There's some really good actors there. Some of them that I knew, they went to Broadway or at least New York, and they were just doing cool stuff. And so I like those plays. And how long have you been doing theater?
I've been doing theater since I was in 9th grade. I kind of started late. I didn't know that was my passion and that's what I wanted to do. But since high school, I've been like all guns ho for the arts. I love all of it. I love acting. I've recently discovered that I love playwriting, directing. I love it all. I don't know exactly what I want to do with it, but I just know I want to create art in some kind of way in life.
Yeah, that's real cool. And And so you were doing it. What other plays have you been in? Have you been in any modern ones? There's one on Elvis that I really liked. I forgot what it was called, but they did it in my high school. And I thought that those modern plays where you're doing music from maybe a few generations ago up to now, like Hamilton, something on Elvis. If you do something on R&B, those plays really kind of open up that genre to all types of people.
No, absolutely. And I think it allows people of different backgrounds, different walks of life to enjoy theater in a weird way. But no, for sure. Like Hamilton, I watched it for the first time during quarantine when they put it on Disney Plus and fell in love with it. Like, I don't know if you got to see the Hamilton remix that we did, but like I fell in love with Hamilton. I've done Cats, the musical. That's a really popular one that I've done. I've done Hairspray. I was in Hairspray. That's cool. A lot of people know what that is. So yeah, I mean, I've been around the block a few times, and I just hope to continue to add more shows to my resume.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually regret not doing a play in high school because I had friends that would they went out for wrestling one year. The next year they went out for a play, and then they did this and that, and it kind of grounded them and made them get even broader skills. I wish I would have done that to become a better performer, be able to understand how to actually talk and maneuver and that kind of thing. But
that's why all the time I say, like, theater isn't just performing. Like, it teaches you like different elements for all different situations of your life. Improv, like a lot of people think improv is just like to make people laugh on stage on a Friday night, but like in your regular life, when stuff hits the fan, it's like you got to improv. You got to figure out what to do and be like on your toes the whole time. Theater teaches you about soft skills, learning how to actively listen to someone and have a conversation and stay in the moment. It just teaches you so much that you can apply into different aspects of your life. I don't know. I think the arts is really powerful, and I think if you have that foundation, it just helps you later in life. There's a statistic somewhere that says, I want to say it's like 50 or like 40% of people who go to school and major in theater usually end up and not even have a job in theater. They have some kind of other job because of the skills that theater teaches. So that's what most businesses want, you know?
Exactly. I do know that when shit hits the fan for me, like you're talking about improv, whenever there's a big emergency going on and people are starting to panic, that's when I calm down the most because I know that everybody else is going to panic, and so I need to be calm and think logically. And at the same time, when everything's good and people are just chilling, that's when I feel like I can just go off the walls because it just allows me to at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. One time, I was a cat when I was in Cats, the musical, and I had a quick costume change and completely forgot to put my tail back on. So it kind of defeats the purpose of Cats. But instead of us all freaking out, we were able to like get my tail back on without the audience even knowing that it was missing, because it was just like we're thinking on our feet, we're thinking in the moment, you know?
Yeah. Did you enter college as a theater major, or were you just in the general arts at first?
I actually went to college as a theater major. I started at Austin Peay State University, and I was getting my BFA in theater. And then when I decided to run for school board, I decided to come back to Chattanooga and stay at UTC because I felt like my work in Chattanooga wasn't done, so I didn't want to leave again. And 2 years later, here I am running for city council. So I guess I called it.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's what threw me off, is because I remember you going to Austin Peay, and then when you were back in Chat, it kind of threw me off because I train in Clarksville, so I'm in there. That's where my unit trains a lot at Fort Campbell. Yeah. And so, speaking of that, when it came to basic training, when did you go? What age were you when you went to basic training?
I was 18 when I went to basic training. I was a baby. I want to say 2 or 3 weeks after I graduated high school. So that summer, I didn't get to like enjoy going into college. I was, hitting the pavement, doing workouts, waking up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah, that's a lot. I went to basic right after college, so I got my partying out. I mean, I partied hard in college, and then so by the time that I graduated, there was no summer vacation because it was time to get a job. So for me, I just was in basic training the whole time. I didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, were you the youngest one in your unit?
Actually, no, I wasn't the youngest one. There were other people that were younger than me, so it was kind of wild because I thought what I was doing was crazy, but to see 17-year-olds there, I was like, "What? You haven't even graduated high school?" I was like, "You're truly the badass." Like doing this at 17, I couldn't imagine.
Where did you go to basic training?
So I actually did basic training and advanced individual training all at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I was miserable.
Yeah, I can see that. Wow. And so you're doing that, and then you work as a jump park manager. Was that what it is? At a party place?
Yeah. Yeah, I work at Defy Chattanooga, which is the trampoline park here in Chattanooga. And I'm one of the managers there, and I kind of help with like the training and hiring, a little bit of everything. My experience of being the drive-through coordinator for Chik-fil-A kind of catapulted me into the jump park business, I guess. I never thought I would be there, but with the pandemic and the needs of the company, I found myself to be there, and I've been there for a year, and I love it.
Yeah, you should use drive-through coordinator at Chick-fil-A is probably the top thing on your resume for anybody who's been able to do it. Everybody respects that chain of command or whatever so much, how quickly that goes. Everybody loves that. I would actually like to learn the science of that for sure. Did you get to when you were at Chick-fil-A? Did you get to learn like the order of things to where you could take that to the next thing you do?
Oh yeah, like I was in charge of like putting that order together and making sure it ran like a well-oiled machine. I think the hardest part was creating a system and not a procedure. You know what I mean? It was like having to be able to,
a strategic system, you mean?
Yeah, like being able to, like if I wasn't there, it would still run as if I was there. You know what I mean? So it was coming up with a way that was consistent and everyone did it no matter what. Because, you know, before I stepped into that role, it was a little more of everybody had like their own different way of running the drive-through, and it just didn't work out for us. But once we got on the same page, like we saw sales go up, we saw better team morale, we just saw more increases than we saw decreases. So yeah, I loved Chick-fil-A. I loved my time being there, but I was just ready to do something different. You know, I think 2020 opened everyone's eyes to like go chase a different dream, and Chick-fil-A just wasn't in that dream anymore.
It did. I have one question and one comment. How long did you work at Chick-fil-A?
I worked at Chick-fil-A for a grand total of 6 years.
Woo! So you did that in high school?
Yes, I started working at Chick-fil-A when I was 15. I didn't leave until I was 21. So I left this year. Well, not this year, but 2020.
That is awesome. Wow. When I was younger, I would go to the library a little bit, and there was a book called like I Learned Everything About Running a Business by Working at McDonald's or something like that, and it was just pretty much just showing how a lot of things you just have to routinize and you have to create systems like you're saying, and you know just be able to put that all together and to make it and to be able to maintain it and scale it up. And that kind of taught me that there's simple things out there that you just got to learn that can really help your performance in any endeavor. But speaking of that, you were talking about 2020. Yeah, it's amazing to me the way things have shifted in 1 year. So we were talking before the podcast about how I've been, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I got into I wanted to start a podcast, and the next thing I know, I'm buying all kinds of production equipment and doing all this and that. And it's because I'm seeing, and that started out as like a little hobby, but now I'm looking at it going, okay, like the normal 9 to 5 isn't even promised anymore. Like if you have a job, you're lucky at all. You know what I'm saying? So all 2020, I was working odd jobs, just trying to think creatively because, because jobs that used to be the most secure are now kind of being rethought.
Absolutely. And I think that's just kind of what it taught us. Like for me, I found a lot more hobbies that I never thought that I would find. Like I discovered that I love playwriting. I discovered that I do enjoy podcasts. I kind of had my own little podcast going during like the peak of the pandemic back in March. It was called Unmasked. or Behind the Mask. I can't remember at this point. But it was just like interviewing people like church pastors and community leaders. It was just me just like, interviewing people that have a platform that always have to in some way be performative. And it was like a chance for them to kind of be candid and just like show us who they really was. So I don't know. I just hope that moving forward, a lot of people take the things that they learned about themselves in 2020 and apply it in 2021. Like you said, you wanted to do a podcast, and look at you. You've already bought all these materials. Like, we're sitting here now doing an interview. Like, that's so sick. And it's super cool that you're doing this and you're sticking with it. So I think this is going to be a year for redemption, a year for new beginnings, because 2020 kind of forced us to have to do that, you know?
Yeah. I know my parents are both retired from the city. So, they were, I lived with them for a while, and it was very helpful, but they didn't understand the transformation going on, because they are still accustomed to getting their retirement check because they worked so hard for the city for that long. And I'm sitting there going, you could change jobs every day. And so even me just grasping an idea of what I want to do with my long-term career, it's so hard right now because we're in because everything's chaotic, because it hasn't been set out yet. We're still creating the technologies. We're still pushing forward to where we can get layouts of how to actually do things. And so what was in your podcast, you were interviewing, you said church leaders and things like that. How much of your military experience, so your military job is repeat what it was again?
It's a religious affairs specialist. So I work hand in hand with the unit ministry team. Okay,
with like the chaplain and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's fun. Do you go visit different units? So when you go drill, do you go visit different units and do all that? Or is it something on a larger scale where you're not on the ground, or what is it?
It changes each drill month. Like, some drill months we spend the whole drill weekend visiting other units and just like, giving support to the soldiers when we need to. And then there's just some drill weekends where I'm in my office, have the door open, and people just pop by and I get to assist them in any way. Because essentially it's like being a counselor. You are assisting the needs of the soldiers. You are being a helpful hand. For those that are religious, you give them scripture, you pray with them, and for those who aren't, you give the best advice you can and you support them, And I think that I love having that job in the military. Well, I still have it, but I love doing it because it helps me connect with people with all walks of life. I have sat down with an atheist. I've sat down with a Buddhist. I've sat down with someone who hates everything about religion, and I've sat with someone who loved everything about religion. And I love being able to find little things in each person, no matter what their background is, to connect with them and support them. And I think that we have more leaders like that in today. We will see a better society. We'll see a more understanding society. I think people would not tear each other down for our differences, but encourage it and really love it, because I think that that's what makes the world go round. I'm not taking my cardigan off because I have a sweater under this, but if I didn't, you will see my tattoo. I have a tattoo on my inside of my forearm that is the yin yang sign, but it's dissected. So it's like a black circle, a clear circle, and then it eventually makes the yin yang sign. And I got that because I want people, because people are going to say like, what are your tattoos about? Like, what is that? And I want to have that opportunity to talk about how beautiful it is, to accept people for who they are, to love the difference, because it keeps the world going round and round. Because without opposition, like, what truly are we doing? How are we going to progress? How are we going to see a different perspective? It's just like, we need to embrace it instead of be afraid of it.
Yeah, and and it's funny. You're right. In the military, there's so many different types of people. In my unit, we have a we have a Satanist. He's the nicest guy in the world. He'll do anything for anybody, but his personal belief is Satanism. And then it's just so interesting to hear him talk about why he believes what he believes. And then at the same time, we'll all be just awful language, just talking shit to each other, and then the chaplain will come in, and then we'll all go, "Oh, sweet, chaplain's here," and then we'll go sit down as if it's story time, and we like really want to, because it's something, because the chaplain's a great guy. This gives us something to do. We're kind of, we all know deep down we need some spiritual help. And so it's a crazy thing to be able to see all of that come together, and to see that, how quickly you could switch from place to place.
No, and it's so beautiful. Like, I remember times when we'll be out in the field or doing some kind of like shooting. So we're at the shooting range, and the chaplain comes, and everyone just like, I don't know, it's just like this mist that they have that just makes you feel like a piece of home. And the beautiful thing about that is no matter what home looks like to each person, like, you feel that sense of connection of like, oh man, back home, like, you remind me of this person, or you remind me of this thing, or it's just, it brings a piece of home with you. And I think that, like, you understand, like, being away from home for the amount of time that you are, like, any little thing that reminds you of it, you cling on to because you want motivation. You need something to keep you going,
Yeah. And that's such a interesting thing to look at the history of the religious affairs in the military, and how diverse it's been and how it comes together. Especially, I would love to hear some of the stories that you have of, like, when you're talking to people who believe in different religions or no religions at all, and then how you can at least agree on the fact that y'all are both here and nobody's leaving. Like, nobody's going to be able to win in this situation. Let's just talk and try to help each other out. That's an interesting thing that I would like to see. I haven't thought about that before.
Well, because you're essentially forced with these people for however long that you're there. Like, I was with 52 people that I know and love forever because we went through this experience together. And then right after that, I met 14 other people that became brothers and sisters, and no matter if you guys get along or not, like, there's nothing you can do but love them and support them because you're stuck with them. Like, you can't just say, hey, Sergeant, I don't like this person. Can you, like, kick them out? Because it just doesn't work like that. Right. And that's the cool thing. It's like, life doesn't work like that. There's people in your life that you are stuck with, and even if you don't necessarily agree with them, you got to find ways to coexist without making it miserable for both people. Because I don't know about you, Cal, but for me, I can't carry around that crap. Like, that crap just weighs me down. Like, I don't feel like you can truly reach your full potential when you have little crap like that harboring it up in you. It's just like, what's the point? What are you going to get out of it?
Oh yeah. Well, I have too much experience with that. I'm not a bad person by any means, but I'm human, and I did not take care of that spiritual side for a while, and then I ended up drinking myself into complete madness. I'm a recovering alcoholic, by the way. I'll put the story up on the podcast sometime soon. But yeah, I've experienced that hopelessness and despair, and you have to figure out how to, in one way or the other, enhance your spirituality, whether that's religion or just spirit, or just spiritual. But it's like, there's definitely something human about that, and that's that's the next industry. Religion and spirituality is gonna be like a cool thing in the future. But for those of us who know, for those of us who understand and have been to the depths of it, it's something that's super important, and something that we need to definitely keep an eye out on and kind of help each other through, instead of trying to, with globalization the way it is, and the fact that I can at any moment call somebody, different country, different religion, different culture, all of that. We have to be able to see what the meta narrative of things are, to where we can agree on things more.
I agree, but I think that it's going to have to take a society that takes mental health important, that understands that, like, depression and anxiety, like, those are real things and it affects people. I think a positive thing that came out of 2020 and the whole COVID-19 is that people have started to pay attention to depression. They've started to pay attention to anxiety because they know that it's a true thing. Like, having to be stuck in your house for whatever period of time, it's different for everyone. But me personally, I was quarantined for like 3 months. I didn't go anywhere. I was home all the time. And it caused me to have to reflect, to have to think about, like, my life and, like, what I truly want out of it. Because COVID-19 stripped us from everything that wasn't essential. Like, you wasn't working, you weren't going anywhere, you couldn't do anything. Like, it really, like, the things that matter is what you had. Like, your family, your home, fucking toilet paper. I don't know. Like, the things that truly matter is what you held on to, throughout the quarantine period or whatever you want to call it. So for me personally, like, I'm coming into 2021 with like a new perspective. It's like, these are the things that matter to me, and these are the things that I'm going to hold on to. But these are the things I want to try. Like, these are the things that I want to push and pursue. And I don't know, I've always been someone that loves being spontaneous and doing something different, creating my own path to wherever I want to go. Because a path that's not taken by most is the most dangerous, but it's intriguing. It's like, it's intriguing to see like where it's going to lead you, like where is it going to take you. And as you go on that path, you bring people with you. It's like, hey, you want to go with me?
Yeah. Well, and you're and you're young, and everybody knows that it's great. And it's like, people know that when you're young is the best time to take really large risks. I mean, it's, like, it's so important to try out what you really want, and to explore new things in your 20s, because there's a lot more risk and a lot more at stake as the older you get. You start a family, once you have money in the bank. Like Damon John wrote The Power of Broke, talking about, if you got nothing to lose, then might as well lose it and see what you gain out of it. I don't know if he said that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. When you lose something, you find something, essentially, because you lost what you lost what you're comfortable with. So now, like, you can either sit there and be sad about losing it, or find something new, because you have to. Like, you lost it; it's gone. So now you have to start over. And sometimes a lot of people think starting over is such a negative thing, but to me it feels like a new beginning. It's a new opportunity to do something different. Because I think we all have that moment in our life where we're like, oh, I wish I could do this differently, or I wish that I could change this. And it's like, well, you can't, but you can change the way the future goes. You can change the narrative. You can't change what's already written, but like, use that as motivation to get you where you're trying to go.
Right. So I want to talk about, when did you decide that you wanted to get involved in local politics?
I don't think I ever really truly decided that I wanted to do it. I felt more like I was called to do it, and I denied it for a very long time. But, when I look back on my life, I feel like I was kind of destined to do this in some way. Because I was in high school, I was a part of all kinds of different leadership things, which catapulted me on the school board. Like, I sat on this Hamilton County School Board as the student representative, and I represented all students in Hamilton County. And that's when my true start happened, because I started working for a nonprofit in Chattanooga called Unify Ed. And they're just kind of like they're a nonprofit that kind of hold elected officials accountable for the schools, policies, procedures, how things are being handled, things like that. So I got to work with them on top of sitting on the board. And that's kind of when I realized that, like, oh, I kind of like doing this community service and helping out in the community and doing things. And just from there, it just started to kind of build up, because I just started to find a love with it. Something I realized is that I have a loud voice and I'm not afraid to use it. But there's other people who, their voices aren't loud. They don't like to be confrontational. They don't like to be in the forefront. So I just kind of feel like I've used some of my gifts, I guess you can say, and I'm just putting it on putting it in the forefront. Like, hey, I am willing to be a representative of these people who feel voiceless and who feel like they're not being heard. I will be the one to make sure that they be heard, because someone has to. One of my favorite leaders growing up was Martin Luther King. Like, I loved his thought process. I love how he went about situations. And I think that he did it in a way that didn't leave anyone out. And it encouraged unity, and it also encouraged love. I think in this society, like, we get yucky about love. It's like, ew, feelings, like, we don't like that. But essentially, it's like, what's wrong with loving someone? What's wrong with saying, like, hey, I love you and I appreciate you? Like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. And I would love to normalize that,
Well, I watched, my roommates and I watched Interstellar last night. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. Is it good?
It's very good. It's got Matthew McConaughey in it. He's beautiful. And and during that movie, I forgot if it was him or somebody else, but they were talking about how love is the most powerful energy in the world because there's time and space and all this stuff, but love is the one where you can know it even if the person you love is on another planet or another continent. And it was kind of tongue in cheek, but a lot of those tongue-in-cheek things about love are true. When you take away everything else the world has in industry and geography and all this and that, the only thing that you can cling on to as an individual is love. It's either love or hate, so it might as well be love. And that's like one of the most powerful actual things in the world. When you see what people do out of love, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is unbelievable, and it's one of those things where I think I will say it. I think in 2020 we were missing the love. I think that's the key ingredient that made the year so shitty, honestly, because I might not have health conditions. I have been a very healthy person, knock on wood. Never had any problems. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to step out of my house without wearing my mask. Do I like doing that? No, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I will be the first to admit that. But I know that by me wearing my mask is going to help someone who can be affected by this, who can lose their lives over this. And that's because I love people. I love other people. I respect them. And I feel like there's a lot of people that just didn't have that thought process in 2020. And I feel like that is a driving factor to why this year was so hectic, so depressing, because it was just so much hate,
Yeah, especially it's a good thing to study. It's a very important thing to study what happens during emergencies such as a pandemic, because you saw some people just step out and say, okay, this, and it's like they were living in Zombieland or The Walking Dead, and they're pretty much saying, me and mine, we're gonna stay good, and I can't do too much for everybody else. I'll do what I can, but I can't do too much. And you got other people who realize that the only way to beat it would be to stick together on the commonalities and the things that we should do in order to get out of it. And so a lot of people's priorities were mixed up. It doesn't mean that they were wrong either way, but you have to figure out, you have to keep all the factors in account. And so, like, when I see people, we're in Tennessee. This is currently the highest COVID rate, I believe. And I'm cool with everybody and their opinions, because there are some people who are complete like pro-Trumpers who just don't see what a mask does, and then you could dispute any statistic you can dispute with the different statistic, and then you have to find those things that you can go off of. And so we go on Facebook and you see all these people talking about how the it's fake and there's 5G and the vaccine and George Soros and all this. And you can't pay no mind to that, but we do have to have something to be able to go forward. And so hopefully 2021 gets better. I've heard it might get worse, but you can let the environment do what it may. But once you kind of learn about the environment, and you have the ability to be able to switch things around on the inside personally. So.
You want to know what I do when I read the news? So this is so funny. Well, it's not funny. See, I say stuff and I don't mean to say it. But something kind of interesting. I tried to do a social media break. So my friend Jackson, he has his phone on jailbreak. And he has it set up to where he cannot download the app store. So, like, he can't even download games on his phone or just anything. So I was like, we went to lunch, and I was like, dude, like, I want to do that. Like, I want to spend less time on social media right now in the pandemic. Like, it's making me depressed. So he, like, set my phone up that way to where, like, I couldn't even download the app or whatever. So I think I did it for, like, 2.5 weeks. It was great. But then, like, I was starting to, like, read the, like, news and see all this crazy stuff happening, because this is around the time George Floyd passed. So, like, I was so confused of what was going on in the world. I just knew that this man had, like, been killed in the arms of the police. So I was just like, okay, like, I want to, like, see what's going on. And I asked Jackson to give me my phone back and, like, to download stuff. And when I went on social media, I was just, like, puzzled. I was like, oh my goodness. I just didn't know where to start, because, like you were saying, you had your pro-Trumpers that were coming in with all this stuff But then you had your far left that was like coming in with all their stuff, and it was just so polarizing. No one really knew how to feel, and I don't know. So for me, what I do now is I read every news article. I read Fox, I read CNN, I just read all of them, the left ones, the right ones, the neutral ones, because I feel like when you do your own research and you put all the pieces together on your own, you see what the narrative is. Because I do think it's biased on both ends. So I like to get the full picture by listening to both, seeing what the right side is saying, seeing what the left side is saying, and then I can form my own opinion. Because I think this world's too big for two parties anyways, but we're not going to get on that tangent. So I just kind of do my own thing to like figure out like what do I want to believe from this. And I always fact check myself and look up people who are professionals in this, not Aunt Joe down the road that knows nothing about politics, only what she sees on TV. So it's like I try to like really stay on top of it by professionals, because I think that's the only way to eliminate this like I hate you because you support this. And it's like I understand where you're coming from, but like how can we compromise? How can we meet in the middle? You know?
Exactly. Yeah, we all have that aunt, the Facebook aunt. You don't even know, like they'll be posting when they're passed away somehow. Like they're just always posting on Facebook about just some super. It's a southern aunt thing, southern auntie thing, whatever. Like if you like your parent's sister, everybody has one. I don't get it. Everybody has one, and they're always like posting the weird stuff. It's goofy to me.
I have a cool aunt. I do have a cool aunt. Don't get me wrong, but
I wasn't talking about your aunt.
That.
Sorry, what's her name? What's her name?
We're not talking about my aunt, but Aunt Joe.
Aunt Joe, sorry about that, Aunt Joe. Didn't mean to.
Sorry, Aunt Joe. If this make it, I love you.
No, everybody has that, man. There's always those characters. And so you have to find out, like, in situations like this, I like to think about what would the hero do? We always think about the hero's journey. And I think about, okay, in this case, what would be something that the hero does? And so, whether that's volunteering your time, whether that's keeping your mouth shut at some point, because you do have to listen at some point. And so it's best to listen when everybody's trying to figure it out versus only listening when you've lost. So you try to do that, and then you try to just go from there and try to see how much you can bring with you without just breaking everything else down. And so so on the topic of 2021, what are your personal goals for 2021?
My personal goals, honestly, is to use the growing pains. I truly understand why they call them growing pains now, because last year I feel like I experienced the most growth in my entire life, but I also was in so much pain while I was doing it. Not like literal pain, but like it was just hard to like grow. Like there's a lot of things you have to let go. There's a lot of things you have to change, and you don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm thankful for 2020 in a way, because it forced me to. I had nowhere to hide. Like I had to do it, and I can see it. So I think in 2021 I want to continue to build on the growth that I've seen in my personal life. I want to continue to be courageous. Like I want to do things that like scare the living crap out of me, but I want to still do it, because I think that's the whole purpose of living. I don't want to live in fear, but I also want to be safe. I want to keep everyone safe around me. So in 2021, I just want to continue to chase my dreams, continue to represent people, continue to love people well, and to just be a good leader and practice what I preach. A lot of times within the campaign, I don't choose to say what I want to say, because it just doesn't mean anything. I think the military has taught me this. You can say all the things you want, but until you actually show those actions, until you actually like do it, no one's going to believe you. So why waste time saying, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that? No, like let me show you what I'm going to do so you can see it for yourself. I don't have to say it. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to do in 2021. Just be myself, be authentic, but love others really well and continue to, just do my thing.
I feel that. Good. It should be. I think it's going to be a good year for you. I know that seems like everybody is going through those growing pains, and so it looks like you're hitting them early just because of the timing of everything. But yeah, those growing pains, they are necessary, and they have to happen, and it does hurt because you have to let part of yourself go, the youthful part of yourself per se, and then let the responsible adult part of you kind of take place, and kind of you have to develop that. And so it's weird. It's kind of like a phoenix having to come out of the fire, or like a dead wood coming off a tree sometimes, or in a forest fire. You got to let it go.
It's so crazy you said that. So I got a tattoo, and I'm going to show you this one because it's easy to pull out. But look, I got a tattoo, not even joking. It's a phoenix. And that was the reason I got the phoenix, because I felt like in 2020, you just had to kind of rise from the ashes. Like, you had to. Like, there's no sitting in it, because guess what? It just kept getting worse. It was like, once you got over one hump, another hump happened. It was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, can it get worse? And the answer is yes, it could get worse.
Yeah, it can't get any worse than this. And then it starts raining, like, have you seen that meme or whatever, like a cartoon? And that's a cool tattoo, along with the yin yang one. That's funny. I'm actually a huge yin yang guy. I love that idea and that train of thought. Well, because I don't practice, I don't practice any Asian religions, but I do, I look into it. And I actually got a hat. I don't have it on right now. I got a hat, custom made hat with the yin yang logo on it. So, and people compliment it.
Well, that's what the military has taught me. Like, I don't, practice that religion either, but like having conversations with people who do, and like going to do my own research on it, I did take that part of someone's culture and like applied it to my life. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And that's something else that I've tried to encourage my friends a lot. And they're like, on Monday I feel this way, but on Friday I feel that way. Like, there's something's wrong with me. And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, every day, like, you have an opportunity to wake up and change the course of your life. Like, maybe on Monday I woke up and did something stupid, and now I'm in jail for 50 years. You know what I mean? It's like every day you have an opportunity to impact your future. It could be positive or it can be negative. Like, it's okay to change what you want to do. If all your life you wanted to be a policeman, and then all of a sudden you want to be an actor, like, that's okay too. Like, you change. Like, people have different things that they want to do, and if that happens to change, like, that's okay.
Yeah, that's what on the Joe Rogan podcast. You listen to Joe Rogan at all?
I listened to him one time because my guilty pleasure celebrity is Miley Cyrus. Like, kind of love Miley Cyrus. Not even gonna lie to you guys, but she was on Joe Rogan, and I listened to it, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's what. That was a cool one. He does that. He gets that way with a lot of people. He gets them to open up. And one of his buddies, Duncan Trussell, he did like a, he was talking during the podcast. He went on a 10-minute rant about how there is different types of coming out. And so we have historically, the term coming out meant, somebody's sexuality, but at some point everybody's going to face a side of them, or they're going to discover a side of themselves that they don't really that they want to bring forward and bring out, but they don't, but nobody expects it, and it would be considered odd. And so, you might be like what you said, you might be a policeman and then you want to be an actor. There's plenty of people that have great jobs being an accountant, and then by the time they're 45, their soul is completely dead, and so they decide they want to go do, paint or something. I mean, George Bush learned to paint. If that doesn't tell you that you can change, then I don't know what to tell you. Literally, George W. Bush.
Yeah, like, and another thing, like, I was asking my friends the other day, I was like, what are y'all's favorite songs? Like, what's your favorite song? And, like, you should have saw how long it took for everybody. Like, everyone was, like, pulling out their Spotify, their Apple Music, like, trying to search for that one song. And they were like, oh, well, I like this song, but I also like this song, too. They're like, I don't know. And I was like, you know what, guys? We emphasize favorite way too much. Like, in January, my favorite food might be shrimp. But in December, my favorite food might be chocolate cake. Like, it's okay to have a different favorite thing, Like, it's okay.
On the music thing, I ask people that all the time. If I'm just bored, especially like at drill, like if we're just chilling, if I'm with a group of people at all, and I realize that I could learn something from them, or just talk to people, I think there's nobody that you can't learn from. I keep that in mind. So I'll just ask people, what's your favorite? I'll ask them what their favorite song is, and I don't know. And then if I think about it, my automatic thing is just say, I don't have a favorite, but here are my top five, and then I'll say, I'll break my own rule of what my question is. And yeah, you're allowed to change, you're allowed to grow, and you're allowed to have those pleasures that 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 might not fit in with what you grew up doing. I guess I don't know what I'm getting
Yeah.
at, but
I get what you're trying to say.
yeah. Okay, so let's. I want to. What are the details on the campaign that you want to get out there that I don't really know because I haven't really been. I didn't question you a lot before. I was just kind of curious what you would, what you're open to. What are the? So you're running for District 8, Chattanooga City Council, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And let's see, and you were on the education board as a student representative before this during high school.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Heck yeah, man. That's great. I went to I went to the mayoral debate probably about 2016, and it was Andy Burke versus some other people, and the other people were like trashing him. It was pretty funny because for local politics, usually you don't trash people, but this one guy was pretty much just trying too hard, and then so he would like insult Mayor Burke, and he would just go, okay. Like Mayor Burke would just go, "Are we insulting each other?" And then his last thing was like, "Don't be afraid of the bad that might come with you if you're interested in running for office, because the good that happens when you see what the impact you can have on other people, what other people say to try to find something on you, it doesn't matter."
Well, that's what I tell people all the time. People are like, "Yeah, politics are gonna get so dirty," and I always say, but why? Why should politics get dirty? Like if we have, for example, me and my opponents, like I no reason for me to crap talk my opponents because all of us have a goal to better the district in some way, shape, or form. So why would I tear someone else down because of their vision? Like we might have different visions, but their vision ultimately is going to help better this district, as they say. So why should I sit and talk crap about it? Like I don't care what you got going on. I will talk about my message, and we can talk about that all day. But I'm not going to sit around and talk about other candidates. Like it makes no sense because we're all in it to better the community. So why should it get dirty? I've just never understood that process.
Yeah, I do hope that the press treats you well for whatever. I mean, it's not too involved on the local level, but I mean, you're a very ambitious guy, and I think you're going to go far in whatever endeavors you do long term. But I got disconcerted with it when 2016 when I saw them trashing Dr. Ben Carson. I don't agree with a lot of his politics because he can get a little old school, but he is the most brilliant neurosurgeon that we've seen, and I studied him and his career. I read all of his books, and then he ran for president, and to see everybody and see the media coming after him and just trying to create stories, it got me so anxious and made me think about all the things that I could get called out for, even though they might be misperceived by the media. But like I said, that's a battle that you go through when you get into the open forum, when you get in the arena. You're a strong guy, so I don't have any concerns about you. I just hope that whoever might try to go against you, whether that be other opponents, the media, social networks. I mean, now every social media network is a they're like a publisher when it comes to a lot of the political stuff. So it can get weird.
Yeah, and it's for me, like I don't let it bother me because here's my thing. Like my message is what my message is, and I haven't swayed from it. Like that, like the words that I say and come out of my mouth is what I truly mean. So when I say like I want unity, I want peace, I want all these things, I can't also flip on the same token and cuss my opponent out or come up with some kind of smear campaign to get her out. You know what I mean? It's just little things like that where it's like, what's the point of that? And I think that when it comes to like the media and social media, I am someone who's young. Like I grew up essentially on social media. So I know like people just want consistency. So in 2020, if you're preaching all about inclusion and diversity and all these things, but in 2015, you were not preaching that, that's when people have something to use against you. But from the time that I stepped into local government, if you want to say, I've always been the same way that I am today. And I don't think it's ever going to change because I have no interest in making my life and my career into politics. I don't feel like politics should be that. I feel like, if there's a need for you to step in and, help, like that's great. But like, I don't know. I just don't like career politicians. I feel like that's when corruption happened. I think that's when sneakiness and just, all the things that politics shouldn't be. I think that's when it starts, when people are making this into their career. Because guess what? Like when they have challengers, they're going to do any and everything to keep their seats because this is their career. This is what their life is. So, yeah, I think that's essentially why people can say it gets dirty. But I just don't think that's what it should be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what are the things that you are? What is your platform that you're running on? What is your goal when you think of the education, especially education? That's one that I'm interested in as well. My degree was in psychology, and my mom was a teacher, so I kind of grew up kind of seeing a lot of different types of education. What is the when you think about educational goals? What is what you think for your area, for your region?
Yeah, so some of the things that I'm running on is equitable housing for the people, economic development, and then sustainable neighborhoods. And I want to explain sustainable neighborhoods. It's different from equitable housing. When I say equitable housing, I want to be able to give the people of my district affordable but quality housing because I think you find one or the other. It might be quality, but it's not affordable. And it might be affordable, but it's not quality. So I want to be able to give people who might not have that good of an income a chance to be able to still have a quality living space. Because I don't know, I know you said that you're in Memphis right now, but one of my good friends just moved into my district 6 months ago, 7 months ago. And his rent for the size of my room is $1,500. Like, how is that quality? Or for you can see my room. Like, it's not that big. So when he told me that, I was like, you pay that much for this? Like, it's ridiculous. No one should have to do that. No one should have to work 2 full-time jobs to take care of their family. So that's why I say economic development. I really want to help keep our small businesses sustainable, keep them going. But I also want to be able to get people in the work field. Like, I want people to be able to work. And for those that are working, I want them to be able to keep their jobs and have a livable pay wage. And then lastly, sustainable neighborhoods, just being able to have a safe neighborhood, be able to build the gap between the community and the police department, because we all know what happened last year. We all saw it. I think there's a damaged relationship that needs to be repaired. And I think moving forward, everyone, no matter where you fall in the political spectrum, we're over the hate. We're over the polarization. Like, we're just ready to move forward and get our country back to a place where it's going to give everyone the same opportunities. It's going to give everyone the same playing field, essentially. So yes, that's kind of what I'm running on. And when it gets to education, city council don't really have a huge part in education, but something that me and my campaign team have incorporated into our issues is talent and retainment, and education falls under that. I want to be able to do more longevity that has an impact. So I want to be able to have more home ownership workshops. I want to do more just skilled resources, bringing things that are available in Chattanooga to the light. I'm a college student, I'm a senior. So I have a lot of friends that are in Chattanooga right now that are leaving. They're like, there's nothing here for me. There's nowhere for me to grow. There's nowhere for me to sustainably live and be able to move forward, And when I'm like, well, what do you want to do? They're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm like, oh, well, we have this political board you can work on, or we have this nonprofit that specializes in this. And I think that it's not out there. A lot of people just don't know where to find it. And I would like to think that I'm a very well-connected person in the community. Mm-hmm. And it was even hard for me to find some of these things. So it just shows me that there's opportunities out there, but it's not accessible for everyone. So I want to be able to bring that back so we can retain talent, because there's some very talented people here in Chattanooga that could do great things for our city, but they don't have the resources, the avenues to assess that. They don't know how to get there. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I feel it gets good. When with Chattanooga, I believe the police there are doing things a little bit differently than a lot of departments around the country. They have because they do community style policing, from what I've heard, and I would see Chief Roddy out a lot, and I was just I was intrigued by I've heard good things about the department, about how it's ran, and but people, applying there, because trying to get officers in Memphis is very hard. Nashville has a huge waiting list, and so Chattanooga has become like kind of a spot for that. And then along with that, the EPB, that grid is such a cool opportunity to be able to get all these businesses out there. We have bellhops out there that's taking advantage of that, but a lot of I would like to see a lot more cool businesses out there tech wise, but I think that's going to come naturally. Those are thoughts that came up when you were talking about all that. Yeah,
and it's like smaller businesses ran by people of color or like Latino people, or having more what's the word I'm looking for? Having more things for minorities to be able to enjoy and have. I feel like we have so many empty lots, empty buildings that we can turn into a small business and watch it grow. Like, I feel like we can do more to sustain our businesses, our economic development in Chattanooga. I don't think we have a problem with getting people to come here, because Chattanooga is a beautiful city. I'm sure in the next 10 years it's going to become almost right up there with Nashville, because if you look at the construction, the development, I mean, they're building the city up. The problem is we're not keeping anything. There's not any sustainability that goes into Chattanooga. Like, there's a lot of great businesses that ran its course 5, 6, 7 years, and then it's like, we can't stay open. We can't keep our doors open. We don't have the support. We don't have the finances. So it's like, how can we stop that? And, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We've had several stores and restaurants close that are locally owned. And it's going to take a very strong leadership team when it comes to city council, city mayor, and all other elected officials to help get Chattanooga through the pandemic. Another restaurant just posted this morning that they're closing, because they just can't stay open. So it's just like little stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, and I was thinking about, I think, because what I was talking about, I mentioned police and I mentioned the grid. You're right, and I think that Chattanooga is a beautiful place for young professionals and college students. It's like a lot of the economies kind of ran around the university, along with the sightseeing and stuff. But I mean, people like me moving away right after graduation, a lot of people they're going to move away right after. They're going to go back to Nashville. They're going to go back to Memphis or Knoxville, and then all that talent that Chattanooga pretty much invested in, that they could be able to keep. That's going to be gone, and then it's just going to be a continuous cycle of that. That's an interesting thing to check out too. I want to see the numbers on that.
Yeah, because it's like, why would I stay here? Like, going back to what my friend, why would I stay in Chattanooga and have to pay $1,500 for rent at my job that pays me $12 an hour, and I have a college degree, when I can go to Nashville, start off making $16, $17 an hour, pay the same amount of rent for more living space? And it's just like, it doesn't equate. Like, that's why people are leaving. There's better opportunities. There's better things elsewhere. When Chattanooga has so much potential to retain those college students, keep them here, and allow them to pour into the city and build it up, because they take pride in that. People take pride in things that they get to build up. They don't want to leave. But once they don't feel like they have a voice, a purpose, a reason, like they're going to leave and go find that. Go find something that's going to give them those things.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I appreciate you coming on. We're coming up on the hour. I'm trying to keep these to about 1 hour. One last question. Yeah. What is your favorite book?
Oh, that's a really hard one.
Just like we were talking about with music. I'm throwing it at you.
I would probably say my favorite book right now, you might ask me next week, it might be different, but right now it's probably Into the Woods, or Into the Wild, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's
John
a book
Cracker.
that I had to read that in high school, and I recently just read it again, and it just, I don't know, I remember in high school I didn't really like it because I didn't understand it, but now that I'm a little older, I understand like why that book was so important for us to read and understand at that age.
Well, yeah, I watched that movie. I see that book out like on sale a lot, and I haven't bought it. I might get it now that you say that. But please don't get any ideas from that book. Please do not sell away everything you have and go to Alaska or whatever it was. We need you. We need you here, bro. So promise me that.
No, I definitely wouldn't do that. But I can't say that I'm I don't understand where he's coming from, because I do. Like, sometimes you just want to pack up, sell everything, and just start over.
Right, exactly. So, hell yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you on again. So maybe we can do that soon. And so, like I said, best of luck on the campaign. Best of luck just getting through the time, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Good to talk to you. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye-bye.